Math with Mr. Williams. Example 1. Multiplying polynomials and monomials. Okay, so in the first example here, we have a monomial sitting outside, and inside the parentheses, we have a polynomial. So what we're going to do is we're going to use distributive property. We're going to multiply everything on the outside to each of the terms inside. All right, so let's just go ahead and rewrite that. So we have a negative 2x times the 3x, and we're going to add that to a negative 2x times the 7. All right, so negative 2 times 3 gives us a negative 6. 2x's here give us x squared. Plus, then we have negative 2 times 7 gives us a negative 14. And then we just bring down the x. At this point, we know that we can go ahead and change this because we cannot have plus and a negative next to each other, especially in a computer. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite this as its opposite. So we have negative 6x squared. And this is just going to be, instead of plus a negative, we're just going to make this minus 14x for our final answer. All right, on to the second one. We have the monomial again with the polynomial. We're going to go ahead and multiply the 3x squared times each of the terms inside. So this ends up being 3x squared times 5x squared minus 3x squared times 2x plus 3x squared times 6. All right, so here we have 3 times 5 is 15. We know that when we see our exponents for our x's here, we know that really all we need to do is add them. So 2 plus 2 will give us 4. So we have the exponent of 4. And we have a negative 3 times 2. That gives us a negative 6. And then we add these again. So 2 plus, there's a 1 right next to this exponent here. So we have 3 for the x. All right, plus. So we have 3 times 6 gives us 18. And there's only the x squared, so we're going to bring that guy down. So our answer in this case is 15x to the fourth minus 6x to the third plus 18x squared for our answer. Math with Mr. Williams, example 2, dividing polynomials. Okay, in the first one here we have x to the fourth plus 4x to the third plus 11x squared divided by x squared. So what we need to do is we're going to divide each term in the numerator by x squared. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. So we're going to write x to the fourth, and we're going to divide that by x squared, plus we have 4x to the third divided by x squared, and we have plus 11x squared divided by x squared. Okay, now that we've rewritten it, now we're going to go ahead and use our quotient of powers property, which basically means that when we see the same base with exponents and we're dividing, really, we need to subtract them. So this ends up being 4 minus 2, which will give us just x squared. Plus, so here we have a 4 on top. There's really technically a 1 on the bottom, so 4 divided by 1 is 4 for our whole number. But then we have the x to the third divided by x squared. Remember, we just subtract those exponents. So 3 minus 2 will give us x. And we don't need to put a 1 next to it. It's understood. So then we go on to the next one. So we have 11x squared divided by x squared. The 11 comes down. And now we have x squared divided by x squared, which really just means 2 minus 2, which is 0. Anything that's 0 is just going to cancel it out and just make it 1. So we just leave the 11 by itself. So these guys over here basically just cancel each other out. All right, and so there's our answer for the first one. All right, on to the second one. We have 6y minus 30 divided by y minus 5. Now in this case, we're going to factor. We're going to find the greatest common factor of that 6y and 30. And that number is going to be, let's see, what goes into 6y and 30? We're going to say 6. And so if we factor and pull him out front, what's left? Well, 6 times what is 6y? Well, just y. Minus, what times 6 is 30? Well, that's just 5. All right, and so now that we've done the top, now we can quickly see that the bottom also has a y minus 5. And so guess what? Those are just going to cancel out completely. So giving us our answer of just 6. Math with Mr. Williams, example 3, multiplying binomials using distributive property. Find each product. Okay, so in the first one we have parentheses x plus 2 and parentheses x plus 5 and parentheses. Okay, so we're just multiplying two binomials together. We're going to work on distributive property. So we're going to take the first binomial, we're going to break it up, and we're going to distribute them to the second. So let's go ahead and rewrite this now. So we'll take the x and we're going to distribute them to the second binomial. So we have x, and then we have x plus 5. We're going to say plus, we have 2 times x plus 5. All right, and so now we're going to distribute again. So we're going to take the x that's in front, we're going to distribute to the 2 inside. So we have x times x is x squared, and x times 5 is just 5x. All right, plus, so we have 2 times the x and 2 times the 5. So 2 times x is 2x, and then 2 times 5 is 10. All right, let's go ahead and combine like terms. So we see we have a 5x and a 2x. These are like terms, so we're going to bring down the x squared, plus 5x plus 2x is 7x, and then bring down the 10, so plus 10 for our answer. All right, on to the second one. We're going to take the terms in the first binomial and we're going to multiply to the second binomial. So we're going to rewrite that as x times x minus 4 plus we have 3 times x minus 4. All right, let's go ahead and multiply this out. So we have a distributive property here. We have x times x and then x times the negative 4 minus 4x plus 3 times x and 3 times the negative 4. So 3 times x is 3x. And we have 3 times the negative 4 is a negative 12. Now we can combine like terms here. So we have a negative 4 and a positive 3x. Well, when you add those up, we have more negatives, so the negative wins. So we're going to bring down the x squared. We're going to put minus 1x and then bring down the minus 12. All right, let's go ahead and clean that up a little bit. So we have x squared, and we don't need the 1 sitting in front of the x, so minus x, and then minus 12 is our final answer. For Mr. Williams, example 4, multiplying binomials using a table. Find parentheses 2x minus 3 in parentheses x plus 5 in parentheses. So basically we're using an area model. So here if we go down to the table, we have x plus 5 on the left, and then we have 2x minus 3 on the top. And if we combine these boxes at the joint, we see 2x squared when we multiply. And then let's go down this way. So we have 2x times 5 will get us 10x. And then we have the x times a negative 3 was a negative 3x. And then over here we have a negative 3 times the 5 would get us a negative 15. Let's go ahead and write those down now. So we have 2x squared minus 3x plus 10x minus 15. All right, and we combine our like terms here. So we have a negative 3x and a positive 10x, giving us a 7x for it. And then we bring down the 2x squared plus the 7x minus the 15. And that'll give us our final answer of 2x squared plus 7x minus 15. Math of Mr. Williams, example 5, multiplying binomials using the FOIL method. Find each product. Okay, so in the first one we have the x minus 3 binomial, and we're going to multiply that to an x minus 6 binomial. All right, so using the FOIL method, we're going to multiply the first terms, which is x times x. Then we go to the outer terms, which is just the x times the negative 6. We go to the inner terms, which is just going to be a negative 3 times the x, and then negative 3 times the negative 6 for our last terms. Okay, let's multiply that out. So we have x times x is x squared. Then we have a negative 6 times x. It's just a negative 6x. Then we have negative 3 times x is just a negative 3x. And then we have negative 3 times a negative 6, which just gets us 18. So I'll write down plus 18. All right, let's go ahead and combine those like terms. So we have a negative 6x and a negative 3x, which would get us a negative 9x. So let's go ahead and bring this down now. So we have x squared minus 9x plus 18 for our final answer. All right, on to the second one. So the same thing, we're going to multiply the first term, and then we're going to multiply the first to the last, and then we're going to multiply our inner terms, and then our last terms. All right, so let's go ahead and write those out. So we have 2x times 3x plus we have 2x times a negative 5 plus, then we have 1 times 3x plus 1 times a negative 5. All right, so 2 times 3 is 6. Then we bring x times x is just x squared plus we have 2 times a negative 5, which is a negative 10, x plus, now we have 1 times the 3, which is going to get us 3, and then just bring the x down, plus 1 times a negative 5 is a negative 5. All right, let's go ahead and combine those like terms now. So we see we have a negative 10x and a positive 3x. Well, we know that's going to end up being a negative 7x. So I'm going to bring down 6x squared. And then we have minus 7x. And then minus 5, because we can't have these two terms next to each other. All right, so our final answer would be 6x squared minus 7x minus 5. Math, Mr. Williams, example 6, multiplying a binomial and a trinomial. Okay, so we're just going to basically use distributive property here. We're going to take the terms in the binomial and we're going to multiply it to everything in the trinomial. So we're going to start off with the x and we're going to multiply it to each of the terms in that trinomial. Then we're going to take the 5 and multiply it to each of the terms in that trinomial. So let's go ahead and rewrite this now. So we start with the x. So it's just x times x squared, plus we have x times negative 3x, plus we have x times that negative 2. All right, and then we start with the 5. So 5 times x squared plus 5 times negative 3x plus 5 times the negative 2. All right, so let's do our multiplication now. So we have x times x squared. Well, that's just x to the third power, because remember we add our exponents there. Then plus, and we have a x times a negative 3x. So it just becomes a negative 3x squared. Plus, we have negative 2 times x is a negative 2x. Plus, then we have 5x squared. Plus, now we have 5 times negative 3. That'll get us a negative 15x. Plus, now we have 5 times negative 2, which is a negative 10. All right, let's go ahead and combine our like terms. Since there's nothing else with the degree of 3, I'm going to go ahead and bring him down. Now I'm going to go ahead and combine our like terms over here. So I see a couple of them with 2 for an exponent, so I'm going to bring these guys together. So we have a negative 3x squared plus a 5x. So I know the 5 is bigger, so this is going to turn into a 2x squared. I'm going to add those up. All right, go on to the next one. So now we have a negative 2x and a negative 15x. When we add those two up, they're both negative, gets a bigger negative number. So we have a negative 17x. All right, and then now we have just that negative 10, so we're just going to change that straight up to a minus 10. All right, well, let's go ahead and clean it up. We can't have the plus and a negative right next to each other here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rewrite it with its opposite. So we have x to the third plus 2x squared, and now minus 17x and minus 10 for our final answer.